Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and other leaders are pushing Congress to allocate more money for research, development, and technology. But those leaders got lots of questions from authorizers this week about what they want to get rid of to pay for those investments. Mackenzie Eaglen's resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Mackenzie, it's good to see you again. How much of what you saw is the same stuff we've been talking about, you and I, for a decade or more? Congress wants to keep stuff that the military wants to get rid of. And how much of this looks different to you, Mackenzie?
Well, and also how much of this is the same from previous administration in the executive branch approach, right? So, the growth in the R&D, the research and development budget has been the solution since the tail end of the Obama administration, and that's been continued now through to today. So I think Congress is getting increasingly antsy about the balance between research and development, how that money is spent, and then, as you're pointing out, what happens to capacity, right? So what happens to tactical aircraft, for example, which is down aircraft purchases in general are down 20% in the Army and in the Navy and in the Air Force. So Congress is concerned about this balance, and just saying that we have, record R&D spending is not a solution that's going to please them enough.
What fixes that? Is it more money? Is it spending the money differently than maybe both Congress and the department think? What's the gap? How do we bridge that gap?
So a lot of the criticism that's coming out, the members are talking about more funds. Now, I don't know if that will actually manifest. It certainly could. I'm not ruling it out. It's possible to get a bigger budget deal that you could cut this defense deal. But to buy more capacity, as the services are proposing in their wish lists, you got to find more money or take it out of R&D. But Congress is already going to struggle to change the research and development investments. Like they understand there's more money for hypersonics, for example, this year, weapons. But they also want to talk more about artificial intelligence and how science and technology funding is being allocated and decide if they agree with the department. But to your point, like the bottom line, how do you actually get the two sides to agree? You have to pick winners and losers, Francis, in the research and development account and pull them forward as programs of record. You have to put them into production so that they can actually get into the hands of the people who are going to use it.
To the point of the projection of capability moving forward, I'm going to pick on the Army, with all due respect to our friends in the other services. The Army established its modernization priorities under the Trump administration, the Big Six. It is pushed and pushed and pushed on the Big Six. Has it done a decent enough job of demonstrating we are developing the new capabilities that we need for warfighting in the 2020s and the 2030s and beyond to build confidence in Congress that it should be able to proceed on that path? Or is some of the hesitancy just based on parochialism, do you think?
I do think that they've made a strong case, and not to mention the leadership of the Army is unified. They've taken programs. In fact, the Army is one of the few services lately, as in the last few years, that's been able to take a revolutionary innovation and move it into the hands of warfighters. They actually skipped making it a program of record. They skipped a requirements document, for example. They used special authorities. These are their special high-tech new night vision goggles that Microsoft coders helped develop in the field alongside soldiers. So the Army has some examples, but I don't know that they've answered future vertical lift well enough. I think that's an ongoing question. And the fact that, they're making the case that $1 change will upend all of the research and development and modernization, we know Congress is going to make changes. So then the question becomes, so will it all fall apart? Or is it going to, can the two sides come to a solution? And then the last issue is just always end strength, because the Army is as busy as ever. I know there's been some changes in the Middle East lately, but their biggest investment, their weapon system, highest spending is on their people. And Congress is worried as the Army leadership about that.
Is that the model, maybe, though, for the other services moving forward? And they're doing similar things, but just to basically set about the mission of modernizing and developing new capabilities. And, I mean, it seems to me the Army has kind of dragged Congress along and said, here's what we've got. And Congress goes, well, it's kind of hard to argue with the successes that they're having.
That's a fair point. I mean, they just barreled ahead as a service. And once they had something to show for it, Congress was mildly impressed. I think it is a model for the other services. I would like, I don't think perfectly applicable because not everything can avoid becoming a program of record. But what you can't do is research and develop to death, right? Basically, if a program's been in research or development for more than 3 years, it's probably a bust, and you need to just cut bait and move on and spend that money elsewhere. If it's not moving into production or even procurement, program of record or not, it needs to move. The Pentagon needs to move on. I think that's really where Congress has to hold the department accountable. The record R&D alone, again, it's just not. That's not going to cut it anymore. We need clear winners and losers now, and I get it. That's hard to do. Nobody wants to be the adjudicator there, but they're willing to make winners and losers of legacy systems. So I think now we need to apply that model to research and development.
20 seconds, Mackenzie. What winners and losers do you anticipate seeing?
Well, that is a really good question. I mean, I think Congress is supportive of all of the similar top priorities of the department. But for example, we've heard Air Force leadership say, if we really want to compete with China in the near term, we need more quantum computing and other types of capabilities in that basket. And so I could see Congress, looking at that, taking it to heart, moving money around within the research and development budget to support that effort, because I think members are waking up to that this is a really here and now problem that they have to address.
Mackenzie Eaglen, always great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.